Have you ever felt like you were suddenly disposable? Like one day, you were everything, and the next just a memory, an afterthought? If you've ever been replaced without warning, blocked without reason, or left without closure, this video is your mirror and your medicine, because what if I told you that this pain is not the end of you? It's the beginning of your return, not to him, but to you. To the version of you that stopped begging and started choosing. In the next few minutes, we're not just going to talk about breakups. We're going to talk about rebirth. We'll uncover why silence isn't weakness, it's power. Why distance isn't detachment, it's self-respect. And how the moment you stop chasing is the moment you become unforgettable. Let me tell you a short story. There was once a woman who used to send texts at 3 a.m., hoping, praying, aching for a reply. One night she stopped. No announcement, no drama, just silence. That night, her healing began. And now she doesn't wait for messages. She waits for miracles from herself. So if you've ever cried quietly in your room, wondering if you'll ever feel whole again, you're not alone. But this time you won't fall apart. You're going to rise. If you've ever seen yourself in that story, comment, "I'm choosing me," and don't forget to like, share, and subscribe. Your journey is just beginning. It always begins the same way. A message left unread, a cold silence after days of warmth, a goodbye that never even arrived. And suddenly you're left staring at a screen, scrolling through memories, asking yourself the question that haunts the soul of every woman who has ever loved too deeply. What did I do wrong? But what if that question is the wrong one? What if the real question is, what part of me did I forget to love while I was loving him? Rejection hurts. Abandonment cuts deeper than words. It makes you feel like you were never enough, never wanted, never real. But here's a truth they never teach you in love stories. Sometimes the moment he walks away is the exact moment your real life begins. Because pain doesn't break you. Pain unmasks you. It strips away the version of you that was built on his approval and reveals the version that was always there, hidden beneath the fear of being alone. And that is your awakening. The day he stopped choosing you was the day you were given permission to finally choose yourself. It's not about forgetting him overnight. It's about remembering you day by day. Your worth was never up for debate. Your value didn't disappear because he did. And maybe, just maybe, this heartbreak isn't punishment. It's promotion. Promotion to the next level of your life, where you don't beg, you don't wait, you don't shrink, you rise. And yes, it hurts, deeply. But it's also your most honest moment, because nothing reveals your strength like the silence after someone leaves. So today you don't chase. You breathe, you pause, you begin again. From yourself, for yourself, because sometimes the greatest love story is the one you write with yourself. And if this moment feels like the end, it's not. It's your reintroduction to your power, to your peace, to your presence. So take one small step today. No calls, no texts, no searching his name. Who am I becoming? Instead, ask yourself, because he left, and write it down. Let this be the day you stop looking for him and start finding you. If you felt this part speak directly to your soul, comment, "This is my awakening." I see you, sister. You're not broken. You're becoming. Have you ever screamed without making a sound? That's what emotional silence feels like after a breakup, a roar inside, while the world outside thinks you've gone quiet. But here's the secret no one tells you. Silence isn't emptiness. It's strategy. When he left, your first instinct might have been to explain, to reach out, to send a final message wrapped in pain and longing, because silence feels unnatural when your heart is loud. But here's what psychology reveals. When someone pulls away and you chase, you confirm their choice. You tell them, even without words, you were right to leave. I don't know who I am without you. But when you go silent, not as revenge, not as a tactic, but as an act of self-respect. You disrupt everything. You introduce a void. And the human mind, especially the male mind, hates a void. It's programmed to fill it, to solve it, to understand it. Silence becomes your loudest message. Because while he's expecting drama, pleas, tears, you offer stillness. And that stillness shakes him more than any outburst ever could. Why? Because silence says, I don't need you to see me. I see myself now. It's not passive. It's charged. It's the power of withholding your energy, your attention, your emotional labor. Think of it like fire. When you stop feeding it oxygen, it dies. But when you try to smother it with desperate emotion, it flares. Emotional silence is oxygen deprivation to toxic dynamics. It ends the cycle. And yes, he'll wonder. He'll ask himself, why isn't she reaching out? Has she moved on? Did she stop caring? Let him wonder. Because every time he hears nothing, your silence becomes everything. It becomes a presence he can't explain. And while he overthinks your silence, you evolve. You rebuild your energy, your posture, your gaze. You stop texting not out of spite, but because you're finally too busy rediscovering yourself. That's the shift, from explaining yourself to embodying yourself. So the next time your fingers reach for your phone, pause, breathe, and remember, the woman who remains silent commands. The one who chases loses, but the one who grows quietly becomes unforgettable. If you've ever felt the power of your own silence, write, "Silence is my strength," in the comments. Let the world know. You don't need to be loud to be heard. You've probably heard it before. Let him go. But how do you actually let go of someone who still lives in your thoughts? Someone whose absence you feel in your bones? Detachment isn't about pretending you don't care. It's about transforming the way you care. True emotional detachment isn't coldness. It's clarity. It's the quiet decision to stop tying your happiness to someone else's presence. Because when you were always available, always explaining, always apologizing for feeling too much, you weren't being kind. You were being dependent. And dependency is heavy. It drags you into patterns that look like love, but taste like self-betrayal. So what if detachment isn't the end of love, but the beginning of self-love? It's emotional alchemy, the transformation of pain into power, longing into freedom. Like gold refined in fire, you go through the burn only to emerge unshakable. But here's the truth most won't tell you. Detachment doesn't happen all at once. It's not a clean break. It's a daily decision. Every time you choose not to check his story, every time you stop yourself from rereading old texts, every time you choose your peace over the need for a reaction, that's emotional alchemy. You're not just letting go of him. You're letting go of the version of yourself that needed him to feel whole. And with each choice, you rise. Detachment isn't indifference. It's influence over your own emotional landscape. It's not the absence of love. It's the presence of boundaries. Because the woman who detaches doesn't lose less. She loses differently. She stops losing herself. And that, sister, is where everything changes. So if your heart still aches, that's okay. Feel it. Honor it. But don't let it guide you. Let your wisdom lead now. Because detachment is not abandonment. It's alignment. With the woman you were always meant to become. If you're in the process of letting go, not just of him, but of who you were with him, comment, "I am transforming." Let's walk through this alchemy together. Why do we crave what we can't have? Why does someone become more attractive the moment they become unavailable? It's not a mystery, it's psychology. It's called the law of scarcity. And it doesn't just apply to luxury goods or rare art. It applies to you. When your attention, your love, your energy were available 24/7, he didn't value it, because he never had to. You became the heir, always there, always given, always ignored. But the moment you pull back, the game changes. Suddenly, what was predictable becomes mysterious. What was constant becomes rare, and what was ignored becomes irresistible. Scarcity creates urgency. It activates the primal brain, the hunter, the seeker, the part of the mind that says, "Wait, I lost something valuable." But here's where most women get it wrong. They try to fake scarcity. They play hard to get, but still check his profile, still send subtle signs, still wait for a response. That's not scarcity. That's fear wearing a mask. Real scarcity isn't performance. It's presence with yourself. You become scarce to him because you become abundant to you. Your time is taken by your healing. Your energy is spoken for by your growth. Your love is reserved for someone who earns it. And when he finally realizes you're no longer there, that's when the chase begins. But here's the magic. By then, you're not waiting to be chased. You're moving forward, freely, fully. Because what you've built inside, this new version of you, isn't a response to him. It's a revelation of you. Scarcity isn't a game. It's a signal that you've stopped offering your soul as a free sample, and now your presence must be earned. So don't apologize for being less available. Don't rush to explain your silence. Don't lower your value to match someone's comfort. Instead, raise your standards. And if he wants access to your heart again, let him feel what it's like to be on the outside of something precious. If you've decided to stop being freely available and start becoming deeply valuable, comment, "My love is no longer free. Your energy is a privilege, not a given." What if I told you that the most powerful attraction has nothing to do with beauty, money, or words? It's energy. It's the kind of energy that walks into a room and shifts the atmosphere, that speaks without speaking, that draws attention without effort. And the good news? You don't need to chase it. You can build it. It's called inner gravity. Inner gravity is what happens when you stop outsourcing your worth, when you stop giving people the remote control to your emotions, when your peace is no longer negotiable. It's not loud, it's not flashy, it's subtle, magnetic, unmistakable. And here's the truth. The woman who builds her inner gravity doesn't beg. She doesn't need to, because her presence pulls. You want to know how? It starts with tiny shifts. Waking up and choosing to nourish your body. Not for anyone else, but because it's the home you live in. Sitting in silence and listening to your thoughts. Not to judge them, but to understand them. Choosing to walk away from conversations that drain you without explaining why. And most importantly, reminding yourself every single day, I am not chasing, I am choosing. Inner gravity grows in stillness, in boundaries, in alignment. You don't need to convince him. You don't need to post quotes or subtweets or try to make him jealous. You just become the version of you that no longer checks if he watched your story, because you're too busy writing your own. And trust me, he'll feel it, even from miles away, because energy isn't confined by distance. It transcends time, space, logic. And when your energy shifts from desperate to divine, everything follows. Your glow, your voice, your pace. You no longer walk into rooms wondering if you're enough. You know. Because the woman who builds inner gravity doesn't need to be remembered. She's unforgettable by nature. If you're ready to stop chasing validation and start building your own gravitational pull, comment, "I am the gravity." Your presence is your power. Own it. Sometimes the loudest revenge is no revenge at all. No message, no explanation, no dramatic exit. Just growth. That's the comeback no one expects. Not the one where you try to prove your worth, but the one where you remember it. Let me tell you a story. A woman was ghosted, blocked, discarded. He left like she never mattered. And for weeks, she cried. She spiraled. She questioned everything. But then, something clicked. She didn't beg. She didn't chase. She didn't write long messages explaining her pain. She went quiet, not because she didn't care, but because she finally started caring about herself more. She hit the gym, started journaling, launched a business idea she'd buried under years of people-pleasing, and slowly, piece by piece, she returned. Not to him, to herself. 2 months later, he texted, "I had a dream about you." Of course he did, because silence doesn't just speak, it echoes. And the silence of a woman who's evolving is thunder in the heart of the one who left. He came back. But by then, she wasn't the same woman. She wasn't waiting by the phone. She wasn't checking his status. She wasn't even hoping he'd notice. Because her life had become too full of herself. And that's the real comeback. Not the one where he regrets leaving, but the one where you no longer want him back. The one where he looks at the woman he once took for granted and realizes she's now too far beyond his reach. The silent comeback is powerful because it's pure. It's not reactive. It's not performative. It's not for them. It's for you. So, if you've been waiting for the right words to send, the perfect message to make him see what he lost, stop. Live in such a way that your presence does the talking. Let your evolution be the only response. Because silence, when paired with transformation, is louder than any scream. And when they finally look back, they won't find the woman they left. They'll find someone unrecognizable, someone radiant, unbothered, whole. If you're building your own silent comeback, comment, "He won't recognize me." Let's rise in silence and return in strength. Who are you without him? It's a scary question, isn't it? Because for so long your identity was tied to being wanted, to being chosen, to being his. But now, in this silence, you're faced with the hardest truth. You forgot who you were before love made you forget yourself. So let's start there. Redefining your worth doesn't mean building a new you. It means remembering the one you buried. The girl who once dreamed without limits, who laughed too loud, who danced without waiting for a reason. She's still there. She's just been drowned out by years of not enough, not pretty enough, not successful enough, not worthy enough. But those voices, they were never yours. They were echoes of a world that profits from your insecurity. A world that told you love means sacrifice. That silence is weakness. That a woman alone is a woman less, not true. Your worth was never about how much you're wanted. It's about how deeply you're seen. First, by yourself. So today, you stop measuring your value by who texts back. You stop proving yourself through availability, through fixing, through overgiving. Because you're not a project, you're a person, whole, right now. Your scars don't reduce your value. They prove it. They show that you've loved, lost, survived. And now, you rebuild. But this time you build on truth. Not trends, not expectations, not desperate validation. You build on your essence. You are not defined by the love you didn't receive. You are defined by the love you choose to give yourself now. Because the real glow-up isn't external. It's emotional sovereignty. It's waking up and realizing, I don't need anyone to tell me I'm enough. I know I am. So stop looking outward. Look inward. Write your name on the mirror. Say it aloud, and mean it. You're not just enough. You're more than enough for the life you're about to create. If you're ready to rewrite your story, not as a woman waiting to be chosen, but as one who has already chosen herself, comment, I define my worth. This is the chapter where you take the pen. And then, he does. The message lights up your phone, the name you erased but never forgot. Hey, how are you? You stare at it. Part of you wants to scream. Part of you wants to smile. Part of you wants to respond. Because this is what you wanted, right? For him to come back, to realize, to regret, to reach out. But here's the question no one prepares you for. Now that he's back, do you still want him? Not the fantasy, not the memory, Not the version of him you kept alive through old texts and imaginary endings, but him, as he truly is. You see, when you evolve, your perspective shifts. You're no longer starving for scraps of affection. You're no longer mistaking attention for love. And what used to make your heart race now just makes you pause. Because the woman you are now is not the woman he left. She doesn't need closure from him. She doesn't need validation through his return. She knows. The real power was never in being chosen. It was always in choosing. And now, the choice is yours. Respond if you want. But do it from wholeness, not hunger. Meet him not with anger, not with desperation, but with clarity. Because the woman who waited for a message is gone. And the one reading it now? She's centered. She's calm. She's in control. So ask yourself honestly, if he had stayed, would you have ever grown this much? Would you have built this version of you? The one who doesn't flinch, doesn't shrink, doesn't need. Sometimes him coming back isn't a sign to restart. It's a mirror, showing you how far you've come. And sometimes the most beautiful ending is no reunion, just peace. So whether you respond or not, remember this. You are not the girl who got left behind. You are the woman he never saw coming. If you've ever faced the moment where he came back, but you had already outgrown the story, comment, "I choose myself, even now." Because you do. And that's power. Healing isn't a one-time choice. It's not a switch you flip. It's a daily practice. A whisper you tell yourself each morning. I'm choosing me, again. Because some days you'll feel strong. Others you'll ache. You might scroll through old photos, replay old words, wonder what might have been. And that's okay. Healing isn't linear. It loops, it weaves, it spirals. But every time you decide to return to yourself instead of running toward him, that's a victory. It's in the small rituals. Drinking water instead of texting him. Writing a journal entry instead of stalking his social media. Taking a walk when your chest tightens instead of reopening the wound. It's not glamorous. It's not loud. But it's sacred. Because choosing yourself in silence is the most revolutionary act of self-love. The world teaches women to be soft, to bend, to give. But few teach us how to receive, especially from ourselves. So today, ask, what does love look like when it comes from me? Is it a boundary, a slow morning, a playlist that reminds you of who you were before the heartbreak? You don't need grand gestures. You just need consistency. One act of self-respect, then another, and another, until the parts of you that used to cry for him start dancing for you. And when the old wounds whisper, remember how it felt when he left? You answer, yes. And I remember how it felt when I came back to me. Choosing yourself isn't selfish. It's how you teach the world to treat you. Because when you choose yourself daily, unapologetically, you stop begging to be seen. You become seen by the most important person of all, you. If you're practicing the art of self-choosing again and again, even on hard days, comment, today I choose me. It's not about perfection. It's about presence. There comes a moment when the ache fades, not because it didn't matter, not because you forgot him, but because you found you. And that version of you, she doesn't compete. She doesn't chase. She doesn't need to prove her worth to be chosen. Because she finally understands. She is not replaceable. You see, the woman who begged is gone. In her place stands someone reborn from pain, shaped by silence, fortified by every sleepless night she survived without texting back. And now, she walks differently, not to impress, but to express. She radiates something no one can touch, not confidence, certainty. She knows who she is. She knows what she deserves. And she knows that anyone who walked away from her was simply making space Space for better. Space for peace. Space for the woman she was always meant to become. Being irreplaceable isn't about perfection. It's about presence. It's about showing up for yourself when no one else does. About becoming so full of your own light that no absence dims you. And when he, or anyone, returns looking for the version they left behind, all they'll find is someone unrecognizable. Not because you changed to get them back, but because you changed to never lose yourself again. So let them miss you. Let them wonder what happened to the girl who once waited for every text. She became a woman. The kind of woman who no longer needs closure, because her growth is the closure. The kind of woman who no longer fears being left, because she never leaves herself. And that is irreplaceable. If this is your season of becoming the woman they can forget, because you finally remembered yourself, comment, "I am the woman no one can replace." You've earned this version. Live her fully.